supermodel Anjhula Mya Bais, and on behalf of the family of Rotary Club of Rotary Southend, I welcome you. I'm delighted to welcome you here, and I thank you for accepting to come in among us and share some wisdom, some fun, and some excitement with us today. Thank you very much. Our club always we identify very interesting, very talented speakers who come and speak and share their thoughts with us. It's always something our club looks forward to, and we are very delighted and honored your presence here. With all that I've read about you, I'm very happy that you are among us. While we are waiting for the speaker to introduce Anjhula to us, I will request Anjhula. We just got to know recently that one of her talents is also to play the violin. I was quite surprised actually. So we asked her if she would do it, and it didn't take more than a minute for her to say, yeah, sure, why not? As long as you will get one. So we did get a violin for her. So I request her to introduce herself by playing the violin to begin with. Valentine, very much. Very nice.
I think we're going to put to test if it's like riding a bicycle if you don't forget, because it's been a while. So please.
And that's not your violin.
It's not my violin, exactly. So, but I find it extremely nostalgic because I was just telling Mr. Mehra that in the U.S. I've actually played at violin competitions in Chicago held by the Rotary. So it's like coming full circle that, you know, many years later that I'm holding the violin at the Rotary. So I'll try my best. And I understand that the Rotary Club generally likes to sing songs. Is that correct?
You have a lot of singers.
We have a singer right here, Rahul. That'd be a good.
So maybe I play the violin and then everybody sings later. I'd love to hear it.
I don't want to spoil your rendition, by the way.
Why not? I'm sure it'll
Who has the guts to sing along with the next song?
Rahul.
Rahul.
Oh, Rahul.
What was that guy's name? Was Segar? That Baba Segar. Only you can sing. That rap.
Lovey even Madhu. No.
I didn't see.
No.
Madhuji or Rahul, one with the song. Which song?
Come Garima.
Garima, yeah, very good.
Let's have the national.
Maybe
at the end you can play
the
that.
national anthem. We do it with your. Welcome, Garima.
Thank you for everything.
I announce Rotary Club of Delhi Southend meeting number 2318. Order.
Thank you.
I would request Garima to introduce our guest speaker today.
you know, Delhi traffic sometimes really are
No longer
So now I know exactly the driving times will not never happen again. A very good evening to all my Rotarian friends and aunts. I would like to take this opportunity to invite and introduce our speaker for today, Mrs. Anjhula Bais. Mrs. Bais, can you please allow me to call you Anjhula from here on? I mean, who wouldn't want to get familiar with a beautiful lady like you? I'm sure the messages by Sanjay have already given you a preview on Anjhula, but with your due permission, I would still like to mention a few words about her. The adage, a beautiful appearance will last a decade, but a beautiful personality will last a lifetime, can be best applied on the young model sitting amongst us. She does not only hold a PhD in psychology, which is also but an ace tennis player and a violinist. Violin, that's right now. She's also an avid follower of Soka Gakkai. This extremely talented and beautiful lady also has a heart of gold. She, along with her husband, runs the Bais Foundation, which was the first to offer to pay all the legal medical expenses for the Delhi rape victim until the Delhi government took over. She's currently studying the top 1% socio-economic strata of South Asian countries and their apathy for her doctorate. She's not only an international runway model, but also was a resident psychologist for Miss India competition. A distinguished LSE alumni and a People Citizen Ambassador are only a few of her accolades. The achievements of Anjhula are many. If I continue, then I would land up taking an hour to do that. Hence, I would like to stop here and invite the lovely lady to come and share her experiences and thoughts with us.
Good evening. Again, I want to apologize for that violin rendition. That was a little shaky, but maybe in the end I'll be able to come up with the national anthem. But thank you for bearing with me. I want to say congratulations on your, I believe it's 108th year that the Rotary Club is in existence. And from what I understand, there's about 34,000 clubs at least worldwide. Very impressive feat, and that really reminds me of Soka Gakkai. I don't know if people are familiar with that here. I understand the Rotary Club's mission or motto is service before self.
Absolutely.
So, much like I am a Buddhist practitioner for about a decade, and for us it's very similar, self and others. So I was reading through the ethos and the principles of the Rotary Club, and I feel like we're kindred spirits. Very honored to be here. I feel like it's a sort of a different speaking engagement. I am amongst people who are like-minded. Recently, I believe that Aung San Suu Kyi addressed the Rotary International, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So it's really funny. I get asked all the time, you know, who's the most famous person you've met, or who do you have a crush on, or who makes your knees go weak, and it must be a cricketer of Bollywood. And you know, the way my parents have raised me, I have respect for talent, but nobody makes me go gaga or weak in the knees, except for Aung San. So she is my hero, and I was very happy to see that she had addressed your organization. She had asked the people present at the Rotary International, I think, was it in Honolulu? Yeah. She had asked that Rotary Club members take care of the youth and foster the next generation. And probably, maybe I'm one of the youngest people in the room. And I'm standing in a room full of very obviously pillars of society, successful people. I guess I just want to speak a little bit and share some thoughts about my experiences around the world, what someone of my generation sees, feels, what it's like maybe when the majority of people were growing up, and what it was like for me and the next generation. And I think too often we focus on the macro. I want to focus on the micro. And I was having a discussion with a couple of gentlemen before the evening began. And obviously Rotary Club is synonymous with eradicating polio. And from what I understand, it's Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Nigeria. And it's very unfortunate what just recently happened in Nigeria. I want to speak, and that to me is amazing because people thought it couldn't be done, and now there's only 3 countries left. So we've eradicated polio, sort of single-handedly. I want to speak a little bit about eradicating certain mind frames. And, you know, if it's okay, with your permission, I actually have written a piece. So we said this will try to be a multi-talented night. So we have the violin speaking. I have written a piece for CNN that has still not come out, but I received permission from them to read it. So I would really like to read it out loud, and the reason being, this was probably a week after the Nirbhaya case happened, and she passed away. My husband and I, we travel the world, but our base, our things are in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and that is the same time zone as Singapore. And I remember she passed away at, I believe it was around 4:05 in the morning. I remember for some reason I just couldn't sleep that night, and we actually lived opposite of the Petrona Towers, and I got up and I was really disturbed. I mean, I don't know how the women here especially feel, but I really feel it's a tipping point for India, you know? And if you're familiar with the Rosa Parks case in the United States, obviously how she refused to give her seat up for a white person, was thrown in jail, arrested, but one person sparked this huge change. So I feel like this is India's Rosa Parks moment. And when I got news, I mean, I would just be following this on Twitter, Facebook. I wrote this about an hour after I found out that she had passed away. So if it's okay by you, can I read some of it? Sure. Just a moment. All right. Social media problems. 1 second. All right. Can you hear me fine? Is it?
Yes.
All right. On the 16th of December, I turned to my husband and said, India has reached a tipping point. I was referring to the gang rape and brutal beating of a 23-year-old physiotherapy student in a moving bus. His response was rhetorical, like thousands of others I've heard. Will anything change? After all, a quick scan of Indian headlines renders it incredulous India in lieu of the official tourism tagline, incredible India. 3-year-old Delhi girl raped by principal's husband. Punjabi girl ingests poison after being raped. 60-year-old Calcutta woman assaulted by police. Jyoti Singh Pandey has liberated people in thought, deed, and action, both in life and death. For before her, these experiences were hushed and sequestered. Now they've burst forth on the world stage with a deafening crescendo. Less mass hysteria, more inner reflection. I began by critically positioning myself in this op-ed through a lens based on personal experiences. As my smartphone flooded with black dots, which was representative of the Nirbhaya case, the musing of citizens everywhere, and the media covering multiple angles, including a self-proclaimed holy man, which is enough to make even the devout turn atheist, one word kept trailing inside my mind: mirror. Everyone in India is thrilled to broadcast conspiracy messages, point fingers at politicians, government, and police. Yet most everyone is left to take a long, hard look in the mirror. Culture of silence. As an Indian, I marvel at the consistent apathy and lack of sensitivity of the world's largest democracy. During my days at the University of New Delhi, I remember a professor expressing no remorse as I described the perilous conditions that my bus to Kathak lessons often entailed. Taking the plight as a universally accepted reality, she told me to carry a sharpened pencil in which to jab an email that came close. As a psychology intern doing rounds in India, I remember my first gut-wrenching experience with the lack of Hippocratic Oath enforcement. The Hippocratic Oath, for those that don't know, is when you become a medical doctor, you pledge to save a person's life no matter what. That is your oath that you take. So the lack of enforcement in India, as nurses and doctors turned a blind eye to pleading and often bleeding patients as they lay dying on the floor. As a psychologist, we're often trained to prize neutrality, to celebrate different cultural contexts, collectivism versus individualism, low context versus high context. And while worth merit and consideration, I believe there also exists a universality. Death by rape is not universally acceptable, and neither is a culture of silence that shrouds India. All value systems purportedly exist to serve a deeper purpose, but that system in India no longer serves anyone, for it's crippled. All nations have horrific incidences of apathy, classic textbook cases. Yet there's something insidious that runs through a country that is second most populated in the world, divided deeply along caste lines, and the chasm between haves and have-nots running as wide as a cauldron of rage runs deep. When my husband and I were held hostage at gunpoint after our wedding 2 years ago in Rajasthan, India, more painful than the police's non-existent investigation and denial to the right to file an FIR, because I was a female, was the absolute silence of the majority of our friends. Martin Luther King Jr. writes, "In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." Recently, a family member admitted to having known of our ordeal all along, and his response was, "What was I supposed to say?" This runs parallel to the Delhi police's apparent line of questioning. What am I supposed to do? As Nirbhaya lay half naked and bleeding on the street for 2 hours, as scores of people drove by. Those in the social science fields in India know that 56% of Indian children are sexually abused, yet no one speaks about it. In Bitter Chocolate, Pinky Varani writes a decade ahead of her time about the apathetic shape of the legal, social, cultural, and political landscape of India that sees the city of Goa dubbed the child porn capital of the world, and India boasting the highest rate of forced prostitution in the world. These statistics might explain why a close friend was sexually molested for 7 years by her uncle. What it doesn't explain is a flat-out refusal to divulge, heal, and lend a hand in India. If the issue is not one safety, it then revolves around India's nefarious and perennial "what will people think" question. As I watched Jyoti's companion speak on national television, the sole witness to this horrific rape, my stomach turned as he slowly admitted that he first told his relatives that a car accident had happened. When pressed further, he said, "I didn't know what people would do with the information if I told them the truth, what they would say behind our backs." As pointed illustration, when I took an informal, admittedly unscientific poll on Facebook, I posed this question. If you knew your friend had cancer, what would happen? Every Indian, barring every Indian, said they would not bring it up, while other nationalities, without fail, said they would offer help and an opportunity to talk if the friend so wished. In Buddhism, we have this saying, "Many in body, one in mind." We know India is a bundling mass of contradictions. We have monsoons and deserts, Kama Sutra and arranged marriages. Yet, when we say both Jai Hind and "I'm ashamed to be Indian," it's screaming cognitive dissonance. Some modern women still wish they were a good girl, like a cousin who has given up everything, once married, because she both venerates and fears her husband, while other treats staff and people of lower caste abysmally, while simultaneously working on human rights initiatives. Until this fight becomes a fight from top down to grassroots, from those wearing Pradas to those sweeping villages, this disconnect will expand and the momentum is lost. There's a reason that rape cases in India consistently fall in the same social economic strata. Whilst us, the top 1%, is unaffected, we are the exact people sitting here in this room who can affect the fastest and deepest change. Not doing so is tantamount to condoning all that we tweet about. Recommendations. While human rights groups duke it out with those who vociferously want capital punishment for the 6 accused, and our Minister for Human Resources, Dr. Tharoor, becomes flambé for suggesting honoring the girl's individuality by renaming a rape law after her with parental consent. I'm led to one thought. We must have a logistical, humanistic approach. While most of us can't imagine what goes on in the head of someone so full of loathing and hate that he rips the intestines out of the victim, we cannot assume that humanism is a given. We must inculcate this in our educational system, be it specific classes or the core curriculum. We must outline starkly, as guardians and parents, what is right and what is wrong. Do not assume and leave it as self-evident, largely guided by oneself. It's easy to be an armchair philosopher that waxes eloquent about corruption or violence, presses the like button on Facebook, while simultaneously bribing a customs official and turning a blind eye as a son-in-law beats people. Put the placards down, blow out the visual candles, and reflect on the fact that if female fetuses in India are not safe, what chances do they stand on the streets? The signs in Hindi that hang outside the village huts lay testimony to this mindset. For they ask, if you killed a girl child today, where will you find your daughter-in-law tomorrow? India will soon face 28 million single men without a partner, what the Chinese call bare branches. It has long been studied and understood in psychology that young single men coalesce into packs, and they have this inherent potential to be explosively violent. Indeed, the juvenile in the Delhi rape case was the most brutal of the 6 men, assaulting the victim. So time for change. It starts now. A start to the solution is women themselves, all the first ladies present here. Women must stop undermining each other. Chief Minister Sheila Dikshit's comment, referring to a previous rape case, she was too adventurous because the rape victim was out at 3 a.m., is no longer going to hold water. Former First Lady Vimala Sharma leads the way by giving up her top-level security detail, stating they should be freed up to help women across the spectrum. The debate on whether to reveal the rape victim's name hinged on an archaic concept of her honor. Her body was raped, not her spirit. And in fact, it's all the more honorable as she fought through immense pain to give her legal statement twice before multiple surgeries. Therapy in India, psychological therapy, is an asset. It's not a stigma. Whether it's acting swiftly, speaking up, treating all with a little extra kindness, or protection of people outside one's immediate sphere's influence, all have therapeutic value. Mindsets will change if people dare to start the paradigm perception shift which witnesses walking the talk. That starts only with us, not them. Do we discuss this year's most fashionable ensembles, or do we pause at New Year's Eve and raise a silent toast to the Braveheart? Do we take weeks and weeks off on holiday just because we can, or do we leverage our position in society because we can do that also? Ask the hard and challenging questions, state the obvious, drop the martyr syndrome, forget the whole Indian what will people, society, culture, clan, caste think and say. Take action out of compassion born from humanity that unfailingly creates a ripple effect. As a psychologist, I'll say within reason. If one's safety stands to be immediately compromised, you obviously have to be smart and a different strategy is required. Challenge every microaggression that manifests in multiple forms. Why is a male a stud, a woman a slut? Marital choices, income, clothes, career path. Help stun these macroaggressions such as choice of fetus gender, rape and forced labor. If everyone's in it all for themselves, there's going to come a day where they stand solitary and there's no one to protect them. In turn. Thank you very much. A little heavy, I know. Those are some of my thoughts, but I just wanted to say that Rotary Club is very project-oriented, but I wanted to shed light on what are we doing, projects aside, what are we doing as individuals, as human beings? So the projects are macro, be they polio, etc., etc. But I really feel my observations are once you leave the mosque, once you leave a temple, a synagogue, a church, a Rotary Club meeting, do we focus on how we talk to our staff, how we talk to our maid, how we talk to our driver? I personally travel so much, and I've come to a conclusion that a country's immigration service, immigration system is a very good snapshot of the country itself. Have you, I mean, if you think about it, maybe, I think there's a collective numbness and apathy in India generally. But because I travel so much, it's a pair of fresh eyes. Have we seen the way the immigration people just speak to people in Delhi? I mean, has anyone ever noticed that? Or is everyone like, that's just par for the course? It's very, very, very rude. It is. I mean, you notice that. They're just barking, rude. It's indicative of mindset. And I mean, I've spoken, I've read my thoughts, and obviously, Garmani spoke a little bit about our fund. And that was all about, the action is now. People sit there and they think the problems in India are so overwhelming. Where do I start? So they freeze up in anxiety. There's so many things you can do, whether it's feeding a stray dog on the street, taking care of one child, actually listening to people. This rape victim's companion, friends, parents, he's paying for therapy outside from his own pocket. Not a single person has asked him, how are you feeling? How is that man supposed to function for the rest of his life? He's in a wheelchair, crippled. He saw this girl, what happened to her in front of him. He's sitting there with the police. Finally, he begged the police while they argued which jurisdiction. So they tore a sheet of paper off, and he was able to cover his companion. How many of us can actually raise our hands and say that we're listening to people around us? I think we're hearing people, but we're not listening. Whether it's our in-laws, our children, our partners, we're not giving a voice to that. And I know the Rotary Club does amazing work, so I'm not here to tell people that are older, probably more experienced and professional. We just really need to dig deep and find our humanity again. Kindness goes such a long way, whether it's a smile. I mean, I've seen the power of it. I don't think that's being harnessed at all in India, and I just want to lay emphasis that I see too much hypocrisy. I'm working for this, but human rights, but I'm doing this once I go home. I can't help but think India is not shining at all. I land at the airport. Obviously, the bus system is approved. This is improved, but this is not the voice of the majority of people. And more important, I feel, than getting people to work on Rotary projects is how, and I want to open this up, it's not just me speaking to you, vice versa, I'd like this to be bi-directional. How do we get more people to embrace a Rotarian-like spirit? See, at the end of the day, it's not about whether they join or not. I know people obviously want to grow their membership and all of that, that's great. How do we do that? I'd like to open it up to any comments or thoughts or questions. I have some, but I think I'm getting tired of hearing the sound of my own voice. So, anybody have any thoughts or want to share comments on what's been said so far? Like, how do we get people to be kinder and embrace the Rotarian spirit? I've grown up watching the Rotary Club, and I think it's just amazing. And all of you fit in to my dissertation thesis, which is the top 1%. Ask yourselves, what has compelled you to be here? Why are you taking time away from your busy life, family, professions to give back? And how do we scale that to larger size? These are questions that have really come up. And I just want to say, like I had mentioned earlier about childhood and growing up, people my age, we really need people like you. Like, I'm an adult, but maybe slightly more birthdays, because it's a very disillusioned time. I tweeted the other day, and it's very interesting. Please, hopefully, people can harness the power of social media because it's a great equalizer. Mr. Mehra and I had just this sort of meeting of minds and affinity on Twitter, of all places. We both just kept taking up causes and kept seeing each other on the Twitter streamline. But it's gotten to the point that when I walk into a 5-star hotel, I actually message the people that I'm closest to and I love in case there would be a terrorist attack or something would happen. That's the kind of mind frame that we're in. And really, there's no room for this thing of it doesn't involve me, what do I have to do with it? I mean, I actually want to put an honest question out there. if I were, like after this talk, if I were standing outside waiting for my car or trying to get an auto, and I was being harassed, what do you think would happen out on the streets? You've heard about this lady that was just shot outside the bus station? You know, with the police van, like what, 40 meters away? And I think, you know, as a Buddhist, I want to find the sliver of hope and positivity in any situation. What I really appreciate is that the public didn't let them go. We just ran and caught them. And that's something to be celebrated about. We need to scale that. But I'm just throwing a rhetorical question. If I were outside being asked, ask yourselves, what would you do? Would you be like, I don't want to get involved, it's too much tension. You know, maybe I have to give a report, I have to give a witness thing. And I know India is bureaucratic, but this mindset needs to change. I mean, you see this Hyderabad bomb blast. We can't no longer afford, and you also said that, Rahul, about when the Bombay attacks happened, then finally, like, a certain social economic strata set up, because all of a sudden this is in our backyard. Oh, it's attacking us, it's a 5-star. But even when this Hyderabad thing happened, I had just returned from Hyderabad 2 days prior. I guess my request is, before I open it up to people's thoughts, please do not think that people are not interconnected and not dependent. It is no longer like that happens in a social economic strata that I'm not a part of. This doesn't happen in our society. 56% of children are being sexually abused. It's not happening at a driver's or maid level. It's happening, and we need to stop this pink elephant in Asia of it's in the room, but I'm not going to talk about it. It's so damaging to the Indian psyche, so much so that India stands out. Like when you're studying psychology abroad, they actually, maybe anybody that studied it in undergrad, you know the Oedipus complex. It's a very famous theory. They have their own theory of Indian psychology, like this whole, it's a mother and son, and father and daughter. And it's particularly disturbed in India. Very disturbed. I mean, at the end of the day, all the first ladies sitting here, it's actually in our power. I mean, I'm not going to point fingers and play a blame game, but how are sons and husbands and anybody acting like that? Turning a blind eye. Women have much more power than they realize, and it really needs to be manifested. But sorry, what I was saying about Hyderabad, it's just now a matter of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. No one's immune from it. It was very sad to get my visa to come to India in Malaysia. It was an Indian gentleman in Kuala Lumpur. His son was working on the 28th floor of 9/11. I'm not a parent yet, but you all, most of you, I'm assuming, are. You can't even imagine the grief and the sadness. I could just feel it. We really have to do something about the mind frame. So maybe at some point, Rotary Club, you've done a great job and you've done a service to the world about eradicating a physical disease, but everything starts mentally. Even these people, I mean, what loss of hope must you have that you're willing to blow yourself up? It doesn't matter, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India. So those are just some of my thoughts. I have a question actually for the audience. Has Rotary Club, any chapters here in India, have they addressed or done anything, for example, with the Delhi rape case? Or anything?
Yeah, so let me answer that. In fact, our district governor has started a fund.
No.
In fact, something very interesting happened which I must share with the club. I'll take this opportunity. Bhuptesh Lekhi's son, Raghav Lekhi, met me at one of the events. And he said, Lovey uncle, I have to talk to you, you know, this has happened, and what are we doing about it as a club? I said, okay, so what do you think we can do about it as a club? So we should do something. He was very agitated, like everybody was very agitated and aggressive at that time. So I asked him, what do you think we should do as a club? So he says, okay, I'm going to send you a mail. I said, okay, put down your thoughts and send it. And he did that. Next day I got a mail from him, a general mail saying we should do something. So I took that mail and forwarded it to the district governor, Ramesh Agarwal, and I said that this is a sentiment of most people, and this is a young kid, and he has his thought, what can we do? A week later, Ramesh Agarwal launched a fund for the rape victim and other victims like this, and I was very happy to hear that, and he asked for contributions for that fund. I am very happy to tell you that our club is the largest donor on that. I mean, at that time we donated 50,000 rupees to that cause, and somebody donated 11,000, 20,000, 30,000, 30,000, and I think they have collected, कुछ idea कितना हो गया? 70,000. नहीं कितना collect हो गया? Total. We have done 50, then we did 20, so we did 70,000. But I think last I heard they had crossed 20 lakhs in that fund, which is for the families and victims of such incidents. So even for example, her friend who was there, so they will get some benefit from that. So this is what was done from a district level, just like that.
Which is amazing. I completely.
I think this one, but many Rotary clubs have held awareness talks. I think today has been great that you brought up a very somber topic, and this is not what we were expecting today. No. So I think the sensitivity which this brings around, this talk brings around, is in itself a great mover, and Rotary gives us that opportunity to get some chances like this. So,
I'm aware, of course, of the nature of the topic, but I'll just speak unofficially as someone of my generation. I am so tired of apathy. You have to speak. The only way things are going to change is by having a courageous and honest dialogue, not sidestepping issues, not compromising, but speaking directly. And as much as I applaud fundraising and being swift to action, this is very good, because what happens is when you take action like that, you unconsciously give people permission to do the same and reach their highest potential. I remember speaking to Mr. Mera, my husband and I, just last month, we were on a marine drive in Mumbai. And all of a sudden, we were just driving to the Oberoi for a meeting, and my husband says to the taxi driver, "Stop the car." I'm just looking, and Satish gets outside of the car, and there's a woman on the street being beaten, domestically, just smashed by, I don't know, partner, husband, doesn't matter. Those are not questions I ask. Again, someone's being physically hurt, and this is a country where it's character, so on and so forth. And he was lightning like this, and everybody, this is Queen's necklace, so it's a certain whatever. Again, social economic strata. I can't tell you, is this, I actually took a videotape. I want to put these things on YouTube. Just watch, seeing is believing. There's all these uncles, you know, in their jogging shoes, just walking by while this lady is getting beaten up. And my husband, without even a thought to what will happen to him, and he's Tamilian, he's from Sri Lanka, he doesn't speak Hindi, just pulls the guy off of him and goes, "No, you can't do this." And in psychology, we have this thing called bystander effect. All of a sudden, like, what happens is, when you see somebody getting hurt, you know, everybody assumes the other person will take care of it, and then nothing happens. So many murders have happened. Somebody will call 911, nobody calls, it's just senseless. You have to assume you're the only person on earth that's going to do something. And it's no longer, I don't think we can afford to be in a position where everything's become globalized and more people are traveling and connected. You know, your drivers are probably on Facebook, Twitter. You can't sit there and afford to say that these issues are an afterthought or it's my privilege to them. It's our obligation. Given the privilege that we are born into. And as soon as he pulled this guy off, everybody just was like, they actually sprung into action. It was amazing. Then she had so many protective forces. The police came from nowhere. All these men were like, "You know what? That's right. You can't beat a woman. You can't hurt a woman." And they start giving him, like, in bad words in Hindi. My husband's like, "I don't understand." But it seems like something effective is happening. And just, you know, I mean, I sit there backstage fashioning